Hey all, hope everybody is doing well. You can see we've got quite a bit of clouds back. Big change from a couple weeks ago when we had one day of clear skies after another. And so what do we got going on? A lot of warm weather across North America, unseasonably warm, especially up in Canada and up in the Northwest Territories. Temperatures running about 20 degrees above normal there. That's the big air mass source region for polar air. And of course, when they're not getting much in the way of cold air, none of that shifts southward, where we could use it here in the U.S. So it's probably going to be a little bit on the warm side for about the next week or two until things start changing up north. This is a quick look at the SPC mesoanalysis. Most of the heavy rain that we're showing is in Ohio through southern Indiana. Most other places around the U.S. are kind of on the mild side. Very tranquil weather pattern. And let's look at the temperature structure of the atmosphere using the NAM. This is a 6-hour forecast for pressure, shown here in black, and thickness, shown in red and blue. So we just take a quick look at the chart and look at where gradients are. And those are mostly up in Canada and off the northwest coast. So just drawing the front zone very quickly, we're going to come up with something like this. So this would be a warm front off the Oregon and California coast, a warm front up in Manitoba, and then we have a lee side trough going down through Montana. High pressure across the central U.S. This is a cool air mass. We're seeing diverging air in all directions, covering everywhere from the Great Lakes to the southern plains and then back up to Montana. However, they do have a westerly flow up there in Alberta, and that's significant because that is downslope flow. And you can see that right there. Downslope flow is going to give you adiabatic warming, and temperatures definitely warming up quite a bit. And just how warm? Well, up in the Northwest Territories, we're looking at a lot of 20s and 30s. Don't worry about that station. That's a bad plot. But down in Alberta, yeah, they're definitely getting some warm weather. Up to almost 60 degrees and actually 63 right there at Calgary. What you guys give me just a second. I'm going to use a little bit of decongestant spray. My nose is a little bit, we got some pollen or something here. And while I take care of that very quickly, I'll just let you look at this chart because that's pretty cool. So give me just a second here. Okay, we'll see what that does. One thing you might have noticed looking at that chart, temperatures a little bit on the cool side in Texas and on the warm side up north. So this is one thing that's very common when we have high pressure across the central U.S. because that directs cold air into Texas. So conditions are a little bit on the cool side here. But then it directs cool air up north. It tends to be kind of mild because of the southern latitude of that high pressure area. So we don't see much in the way of cold air blowing back up northward. In fact, it tends to be kind of warm due to the downslope flow. And so high pressure over the central plains is going to give us kind of a pattern like that, especially when it's a Pacific high. So finishing off that chart, let me just run through the fronts right here. There's that right there. And we do have a front off the Texas coast. It doesn't show very well. In fact, let's look at whether a SPC, or not SPC, at whether the Weather Prediction Center is showing that. So I'm going to go to WPC at NOAA.gov. And that's the official repository for frontal locations, and it's not always accurate. But what they're showing here looks a little bit different from our analysis, and we'll probably go back through this, but I'm sure what we have on our charts is correct. You do tend to get variance between different forecasters, and they have to stick to continuity and that kind of thing. So let me look through here very quickly and find where the current analysis is. There it is, surface analysis. Okay, that's more what we're looking for. Let me set that cursor here on latest. And yeah, there's that front. That's more where we would expect it. There's that lee side trough. And they are showing a front from Ohio down to Texas like that. However, what they're not depicting is what's further south. We're talking about this area right here. You see how the conditions are rather cool here at Monterey, 68 degrees, 72 offshore. There is a little bit of a weak front tied to this low pressure area. And the upslope flow that we've had, or the overrunning that we've had over that front the past couple of days, has actually given us a lot of the cloudy and damp weather that we've had. So we would actually look further south for a front to be in that area. So we're talking about this area here. Because this little area of showers and storms, that's not there for no reason. And it's not just convective warm weather stuff. There's likely going to be a front down that way. So we really are picking apart these boundaries to find out exactly what's going on. So you see that northerly flow, you're not going to get that in tropical air. So, and then we have our newest outbreak. SPC was showing that about right there. That's certainly a possibility. Can definitely see it better up in the Midwest, up through here. So that's the new front coming on southward. Okay, so I think we've got everything pretty well put together. It seems kind of monotonous, you know, what I've done here, but this is the process of putting together everything four-dimensionally in terms of what's happening across the U.S., what's happening vertically, and what's happening with respect to time. I'm going to show you something interesting. Take Calgary, for example. I'm going to show you a new product that we're going to start using. It's called a meteogram. And there's this site here that has this. I'm going to show you the URL right there, wxmaps.org/pics. This is a place where you can use to get meteograms and based off the model data. We're going to use the NAM for the short term. And remember, Calgary has that very warm downslope flow. So what does that look like at Calgary? Winds in the lower levels, you can see that they're southwest. And as you go higher in the atmosphere, they stay southwest. So this is a very deep southwest flow, and it's very warm. And if we look at the temperature range, yeah, you can see those temperatures spiking up to 60 and then down to about 42 at night. I can convert this over to English units. Let's do that very quickly. Actually, I think they only have that option on the customized meteograms. Yeah, so if you do your custom meteograms, you can switch it over to Fahrenheit. But let's go ahead and stick with what we have here. I guess we're stuck with Celsius. So there's our meteogram there for Calgary. And you can see that the thickness is very high right here, the thickness in decameters. And that's a consequence of the adiabatic warming and the warm air mass that we have over that part of Alberta. And you can see over time, over the next 24 to 36 hours, that cools. Thickness goes down, bottoms out there at 550, and we have a cool air mass there at Calgary. We're looking at, let's see, 6 to 7 for afternoon. Actually, let me see here. Yeah, just around midnight. Temperature's down about 48. That's a little bit on. It could be a lot cooler for sure, but that's definitely a cool down. And you can see aloft, there's cool air over Calgary at that point, and northwesterly flow. So that's an air mass change. And you can see also we've got the formation of clouds there at Calgary. So something is moving through and giving us vertical lift in that area. So these meteorograms are very useful for tracking air mass changes. Let's look for one more example of a very strong air mass change. Let's see, who's getting a strong air mass change? Let's try New York. That's going to be just ahead of this front. Let me look at the surface chart. Yeah, let's pick something ahead of this front, which is located right there, and we'll track the front coming in. So let me find Erie or Buffalo or Pittsburgh. Okay, we're selecting Buffalo, looking at the meteogram here. So you can see at the surface we start out with southwesterly flow, and then it becomes northwesterly during the evening. And this is the current time right there. So this is the air mass change right there, northwesterly flow, then it becomes southwesterly tomorrow night. Very strong southwesterly there, 20 knots. So very changeable weather conditions there. So where does the front pass? It looks like it's right there. And we can see on the thickness, very slow sagging of the thickness as the bulk of the cold air reaches there tomorrow morning. Then a bit of a warm-up tomorrow night, and then a very strong cool down for the next evening. That's going to be on November 12th. That's Saturday. So it looks like very cold for this weekend there in Buffalo and upstate New York as this very strong air mass comes in. And you can see the temperatures aloft go from cool for the first outbreak to very cold for the weekend. Okay. I'm looking at the different values here. Very strong pressure rises with that new air mass coming in over the weekend too. We bottom out at about 1006 millibars as the low comes through, then rapid climb up to 1020, 1030 millibars. That's up at about 30.10 to 30.30 inches of mercury. So anyway, yeah, definitely check out these meteograms, and if you don't see your area listed, go to your customize your own meteogram and put in your values, and keep in mind the latitude and longitude are backwards. Negative longitude is going to be Western Hemisphere, and you can put that in, and say for Denver you're going to put in something like 106 and then 40, and then you hit submit and that'll come up. That'll probably take a while, so I'm going to go ahead and move on here. So let's go into our forecast here. Okay, there's our current conditions. Polar front location is running something like that. Move forward in time. It's like a bit of a warm-up here in the Great Lakes region. Next front coming down from Canada. Thursday going into Friday. There comes that big cold front. Warm front is looking something like maybe that. And we also have a new cold front coming in offshore, something like that. In fact, baroclinic area right there, very strong. See those thickness lines coming very closely together? We're going to probably see some development there. In fact, yeah, there it is. There's our low off the Washington coast. It looks very potent there. So we're looking at Friday midday, cold front blasting through the northeast, coming through New York and Pennsylvania. Going into Saturday, cool conditions, but it looks like we're already warming up. There's warm air advection right there in the Great Lakes on Saturday. So very changeable weather here. Very strong downslope in Montana and the Dakotas on Saturday. And here's our new front coming in inland right there. So Sunday, and then Monday, looks pretty stagnant across the U.S. Maybe a little bit of a reinforcing shot of cold air coming into the Central Plains, New Baroclinic region right here. Let's see, midweek. Yeah, things are starting to look a little more potent right here in the northwest U.S. And here comes another blast of cold air southward. High pressure right here. So this is going to be about Wednesday. And this is not too far in the future. This is 192 hours out. This is a little bit off the top of the screen, but this is Wednesday, so this is probably going to pan out the way it shows. Very strong cold air advection into the Midwest. And Texas will get a little bit of a piece of that. And now things are coming further south. This next system comes through the southern Rockies, 200 hours out, so this is probably going to pan out also. Things are looking more interesting finally. And this next Pacific system, yeah, that's going to reach Texas. And we actually get a very strong low pressure area in Kansas. And if we have enough moisture and dew point in this region, we'll probably be looking at some thunderstorms as a possibility. Okay, now we're starting to get out to crystal ball land. So we're looking at just the general overall picture, and what it's showing is a large baroclinic area across the U.S. So instead of finding it up in Canada like we have right now, things shift southward. So we are going to see a change between now and Thanksgiving. And it actually tries to develop a low pressure system in the plains. So things will gradually be getting more interesting. And that's good because we really need that on this weathercast. It's been a very, very boring month the past 30 days. All right, I think that's about all I got from me. If there's anything specific you want to cover, you might want to think about that tonight and maybe leave a comment in the video, the archived video that's going to appear. And I'll check that out overnight, and maybe I'll see if I can bring up some charts we can look at and cover maybe some techniques and different types of maps and tools we can check out. Anyway, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you tomorrow night at the same time.